New developments overnight in the coronavirus crisis. Australia has suffered its deadliest day since the outbreak began. 13 people have now died, the latest a Western Australian cruise ship passenger in his 70s. This is the country's infection curve this morning. 2,800 cases have now been confirmed across Australia, and you'll watch that steeply rise a little bit later in the program. Across the globe, the number of infected people has reached 500,000. 22,000 people have died and 120,000 have recovered. Overnight, world leaders held the first virtual G20 summit to tackle the crisis. Concerns our intensive care units could run out of beds in as little as 10 days. And schools in Queensland, South Australia, WA and the Northern Territory will join Victoria in going pupil-free. Our team have all the latest covered for you this morning. Australia, though, is on a deadline to come up with a solution for sick coronavirus patients with fears intensive care beds could run out. As I mentioned, let's go straight to Today Melbourne reporter Christine Ahern. Chris, how dire is that situation?
Carl, according to the Medical Journal of Australia, we could run out of ICU beds in 10 days and our mortality rate could be as high as Italy. That's if the federal government's social distancing measures do not work. Certainly the Victorian government is preparing for an influx of 2,000 ICU patients at the pandemic's peak, expected in May and early June. The problem? We currently have 475 ICU beds in Victoria compared to 875 in New South Wales. So the government is preparing to convert the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre here into one giant ICU makeshift hospital. And in a grim sign of what could be to come, part of this centre could be transformed into a temporary morgue. Certainly, the Health Minister yesterday flagged that several non-hospital buildings right around the state are in the planning stages of being converted into temporary hospitals. Carl.
Christine Ahern, thank you.
Scott Morrison has joined world leaders overnight in a virtual meeting to discuss new strategies to fight COVID-19. For more, Kerry Yaxley joins us from Canberra. And Kerry, I mean, this was an extraordinary meeting.
It absolutely was, Ali. It looked like no other global summit. It looked more like a video conference call between colleagues. Leaders from the world's largest economies discussed things like keeping supply chains open for crucial medical supplies, the need to put money into antiviral drugs as well as vaccines, and the world's most powerful leaders agreeing that they have grave concerns for poorer countries. I'm told our Prime Minister mentioned the Pacific region in the meeting and said that Australia would be willing to help there if necessary. And today in Australia, the National Cabinet will meet. They will discuss further stimulus measures to possibly freeze bills for some businesses as retailers close their doors, Ali.
OK, thanks, Kerry.
Victoria and New South Wales could face stricter quarantine measures, with entire suburbs potentially locked down to stop the spread. Let's go to today's Sydney reporter Sarah Stewart in Blacktown and Sydney's West. Sarah, how could these shutdowns be put in place?
Yeah, good morning to you, Alex. Well, these shutdowns could be in place as soon as this weekend. We know our leaders are meeting today. They're going to have some very serious discussions and make some decisions. We are being told by both the New South Wales and Victorian premiers they are prepared to go alone to break away from the Commonwealth, and that could happen as early as tomorrow. It is possible that they could do suburb shutdowns. It is more likely that they will do a statewide shutdown, but they have released the suburbs in both states where we are seeing the highest number of cases. In New South Wales, it is Waverley, places like Bondi, followed by the city centre, followed by the northern beaches. In Victoria, it is the Stonnington Council, places like Toorak and South Yarra, followed by the Mornington Peninsula and then central Melbourne. They are stressing, though, while we will be told to stay home, essential services, banks, petrol stations, post offices, supermarkets and pharmacies would all stay open. Alex?
Important info, Sarah. Thank you.
Thousands of children across the country won't need to go to school next week, with multiple states introducing pupil-free days. One of those is the Sunshine State, where we're joined by Jessica Millwood in Brizzy. Jess, good morning to you. There's still a lot of inconsistencies across the nation on this.
Good morning, Carl. Yeah, confusing to say the very least. Each state has a different scenario as we go to where this morning Queensland has decided that from next week Schools will be pupil-free, but the children of essential workers can still come along to school. The Premier said that the health advice hasn't changed, but this is a happy medium and she's moved to allay concerns across the community. In New South Wales, the Premier continues to encourage parents to keep their kids at home. Victoria, schools have closed. In South Australia, they'll move to a similar model that we see here in Queensland, but that won't happen until April 6. And in WA, it's similar to New South Wales, with the Premier there urging parents to keep their kids at home. Teachers are being asked to use these pupil-free days to prepare for online learning, so that puts term 2 in serious doubt. And Carl, on another topic, yesterday we saw Queensland close off its borders to the rest of the country. Well, now 3 federal MPs and a Queensland senator have written to Anastasia Palaszczuk, our Premier, asking her to cut our state in half. They would like North Queensland isolated from the rest of the state. In the letter, they've said these calls stem from concern about the lack of available resources in North Queensland to handle a widespread outbreak of COVID-19. Carl, I've checked in with the Premier's office this morning to ask whether or not this is something that they're seriously looking at. I got a one-word response: no.
There you go. Says it all. Jess Millwood, thank you.
Despite strict social distancing rules, Queensland local elections will go ahead tomorrow. Dominique Loudon joins us now from the Gold Coast. I mean, Dominique, this is going to have plenty of voters incredibly concerned.
Incredibly concerned, Ali, and pretty baffled as well as to why they're being told to still head out and vote in these council elections tomorrow, considering it's being drummed into all of us about avoiding large gatherings, adhering to social distancing guidelines and limiting our movements when we're away from home. Now, tomorrow, thousands of Queenslanders will head to the polls, and State Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk is assuring voters they will be safe. They're being told to bring their own pencil. There will be hand sanitising stations. Booths will be regularly cleaned and fewer than 100 people will be allowed inside buildings at a time. And of course, no democracy sausage sizzle tomorrow. Now, early voting centres are still open today, and that is the best option to avoid crowds. And some people are eligible to vote on the phone, but that is if you are ill or physically not able to attend a polling station. So the Queensland Government is under increasing pressure to postpone these elections tomorrow. But as of right now, Ali, they are definitely going ahead.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous decision. Thanks, Dominique.
Thousands of Australians are in limbo on cruise ships across the globe as the New South Wales Government vows not to let any more passengers disembark in Sydney. A majority of the country's confirmed cases can be traced back to cruise ships, with 147 testing positive to COVID-19 from the Ruby Princess alone. There are currently 3,000 citizens stranded on 25 different boats across the globe, 11 of those bobbing off the coast of Sydney. Righto, well, Coles will today introduce new measures in its stores to improve the health and safety of customers and staff. Matt Swindles, he's the Chief Operations Officer at Coles and joins us now. Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Coles is investing an extra $1 million a week into hygiene measures. Tell us where that money's going.
Well, we've been investing $1 million extra a week for the last few weeks, and we've been working very closely with the Department of Health and checking in on their professional medical advice so that we can ensure Coles is a safe supermarket to shop for our customers and a safe supermarket to work in for our team members. And so from today, we're asking our customers to work with us on 4 key areas when they come and shop at Coles. And the first of those is to keep social distancing. And we would ask that customers use a trolley just like this one. It's a great representation of what 1.5 metres looks like, to ensure that when you're in the store and in a queue, you're keeping that social distancing space appropriately at 1.5 metres. The second part is to ask people to unload their groceries at the end of the checkout and then wait for the customer in front to complete their transaction before they proceed. That again ensures social distancing, keeps everyone safe. The third part, and probably the biggest change that we're asking customers to work with us on, is that when your groceries are scanned, that you pack your own bags at the end of this checkout. That reduces the amount of contact on the bags that customers bring in between themselves and our team members, and will significantly reduce the risk. We know this is a big change for customers, and we're asking that we can all work together and make that happen from today. And then the fourth final part is to use contactless pay wherever possible, reducing the risk of handling money and transferring the virus, contactless pay is a safer way to go. So for customers, 4 things: trolleys, distance, unpack at the checkout, please pack your own bags, and contactless pay. And then for our team members, we've secured 12,000 litres a week of hand sanitizer. There is no substitute for washing your hands with this virus.
OK, Matt, that's very,
12,000
very
litres
important.
a week for all checkout operators to keep
We're going to have
clean.
to leave it there, Matt. That's very important info. Thank you so much for your time. That's Matt Swindles there from Coles.
The coronavirus death toll has soared in the United States as the infection rate climbs above 37,000. Correspondent Alexis Daesh joins us from New York now. A very quiet New York. Lexi, how are hospitals there coping?
Well, Carl, they're not. And there is one hospital in particular here in New York that is right on the front line. It's called Elmhurst in Queens. And in the space of 24 hours, 13 patients died there, some of them before they even got a hospital bed. They passed away while they were in the emergency room. And remember, that's just one of this city's hospitals. There's another one in Manhattan, Bellevue Hospital, where the military has moved in and they're essentially setting up a makeshift morgue with white tents ready to take victims in. So look, the situation here is very grim. The governor has stepped up. He's updating New Yorkers every single day. And today he gave some advice I think we could all take something from.
When the pressure is on is when you really see what people are made of. In a personal relationship, in a business relationship, people can be great when everything is great. The question is, what does a person do when things aren't great?
And Carl, looking at the bigger picture here in the US, we now know that 3.3 million Americans have now filed unemployment claims.
It's a lot, isn't it? Lexi, thank you.